I am in Space Age now. This is the new DLC to Factorio, and in this video I will try to visit every single planet, craft all new science packs, research new technologies, build spaceships, lost spaceships, and even explore the mysterious last planet called Nepert. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to conquer this expansion, but the question is, will I succeed or will Gleba break me first, draining all of my sanity and stopping me from seeing the victory screen? Watch till the end to see my whole Space Age story and become a channel member or I will send you to Gleba. Okay, the Space Age starts from Crashland on Nauvis, like usual. First task is of course to get my first rock. Rock. First mining drills and chop some wood for power poles. Chop. I will skip through a lot of beginning stuff, since it's just like Factorio vanilla. After expanding the burner stage, I built a power plant and connected it to my first lab. Next, I researched automation and used my first assemblers to speed up handcrafting. To supply future space exploration, we need a big smelting column. This design is of course from my smelting tutorial. Okay, that should be enough. In Factorio 2.0, you can't craft electric drills from the get-go, because first you have to research them. Finally, miners. However, with new world generation, you can adjust rock slider. And I set mine to maximum. Oh damn, that's so many rocks. And this is what I usually build as a starting supply spot to expand my base. First to expand is power plant. Okay, power expanded. Next are the smelting columns and mining outposts. Oh, achievement. With supply of resources, I can make red and green science production, which goes directly to science labs. Okay, and the labs are also running. For Nauvis design, I decided to go with old good main bus. Green circuits are kind of important in this game, so it was the first thing I built for the bus. To use those, I then focused on building a proper mall with belts, inserters, pipes and basically anything else which might be handy on Gleba and on other planets. Bricks are not the most important resource, but it's good to have a rock smelter running for military science in the future. It wouldn't be Trupen's video without Murican jokes about oil, so there it is. It's democracy time, baby! Then I take care of refining everything into petroleum and making plastic for red circuits. Talking about those, it's time to make red circuits production with plenty of space. So I will be able to upgrade them with Fulgora circuit making machines in the late game. With red circuits running, I can focus on blue science, which unlocks bots and rocket silo. They require gears and pipes for engines, red circuits and sulfur. So I also have to upgrade the refinery to start sulfur production. With all of that, blue science is done. To have constant supply of science, I build buffers. This way it will be easy to spot any bottleneck, and there might be a few. Also, the whole belt reading is awesome. Since I am close to the lake, I will grab a few fish. They will spoil over time and be useful for crafting later. Another science is a military one. It requires a lot of red bullets, grenades and walls. Luckily, we have everything on our base, so building it is trivial. With refinery and 2 new science packs running, it was time to upgrade the power plant. Power expanded. However, I want to expand at faster pace, so I took my bots rush blueprints from my other tutorial and started building it. To make bots, I also have to change from simple refining, which makes just petroleum, to advanced one, which also produces heavy and light oil. This introduces a new challenge, to balance those liquids with cracking. But I am a Factorio pro, so I won't forget about anything, right? Right? After some more building, the bots are done. Oh, I looked at my blueprints and I forgot about this one. The course tier 2 assembler with 4 productivity modules making assembling machines. It's a already fixed bug, so don't use it, okay? On the other hand, you should use quality modules in your construction bots maker. But with 2% chance for better bots, I didn't have any luck. To have better chances with quality, I built modules factory for quality and productivity modules. The refinery of course needs upgrades and fixes with the new, better circuit logic. To fight with pollution, I set up quality solar production. It ain't much, but it's something. Talking about pollution... Oh no, no. What the fuck is this? Remember, if you want peaceful life, just don't play on desert. Quick fix with a gun. My starting rocks patch was drying out, so I built and connected a new one. I mean, bots will build it. Also, starting coal patch wasn't that big, so I'm switching to solid fuel for power production and for the whole smelting column. With that upgrade, I should provide the smelting columns with more resources, and copper will be very handy. Let me start building spaceships and exploring the space age. Iron and steel are also core ingredients of a spaceships, so outpost for it is mandatory. While building it, I got a few biters attacks, but I don't think I should start to worrying about it. There are no rocket control units in this game anymore, and blue circuits are used to launch the rocket instead. I don't think it's big enough, but for now it's fine. Concrete is used for making rocket silos and nuclear reactor. Since you must have a lot of both to have a good time in space age, I recommend to automate it early on. In 2.0, some recipes are locked behind triggers. And to unlock uranium processing and craft your first centrifuge, you have to mine a single piece of uranium. Yeah, after unlock, I can build the whole outpost and start crafting centrifuges. Having access to developers build of the game means I sometimes encounter bugs, like here I cannot upgrade yellow belts to red ones, but it will get fixed before you play the game. To complete Nauvis, I need 2 more science packs, utility and production. I decided to go with yellow science first, since I already have blue circuits. Robot frames are easy to make and low density structures will be necessary for rockets. However, I got sidetracked to craft rocket silo, because I want to get There is no spoon achievement, which requires sending first rocket in less than 8 hours. I want to get at least uncommon rocket silo, so there is fun crafting with restarting the save. I don't have my GameLink machine yet, so it takes ages. After way too many restarts. Oh, we hit that, we have this. Rocket silo is not enough to send the rocket by itself. It also requires 3 different rocket parts. We have blue circuits, but rocket fuel is something which I have to build from scratch. Low density structures are expensive to craft, but I can already build a huge production of them and upgrade the supply later. With 1 hour to spare, I have to get There is no spoon achievement. Right, while waiting for rocket to get built, I started working on uranium processing, because to craft space science I need to send uranium 235 to a space platform. I built ore processing from scratch, but for Kovarex processing I use a blueprint from my upcoming power production video. With new 2.0 circuits, I can forbid centrifuges from taking more than 40 uranium, which makes it the best setup for Kovarex. The rocket is done, but it's not usable, because I have to first build a cargo landing pad, which will receive all the items from the orbit. Best spot for it is near the labs, since we'll bring a lot of science from the orbit to Nauvis. Now I can send the first research rocket, which will bring me 10 space science packs. Oh, I got the achievement. With those science packs I can research tier 2 modules or space platforms to build on the orbit, asteroid catchers to collect resources in space, and finally recipe for space science packs. So I don't need to launch research rockets by hand all the time. My first spaceship will be a stationary science-making platform. I will name it Do Not Read Tips and Tricks. It's a random name and doesn't have any deeper meaning. Trust me. Starting platform is empty, so next rocket will supply it with basic building stuff, and 2 next rockets will deliver space platforms to build on. While waiting for delivery rockets to be built, I tried to craft uncommon modular armor. However, I ran out of patience and settled for a normal one. Next, I built another rocket silo to supply my Do Not Read Tips and Tricks platform with more resources. Then I use it to send more building components into space. With everything on the platform, it's time to design a space science factory. First, we need to build asteroid catchers for constant supply of space resources. However, with limited storage space on the platform, we also need to have a trashing system, which will dispose a surplus of asteroids. Without it, the platform would get stuck with too many asteroids. Solars would be the best for electricity. What's more, they are rare quality, so they make even more electricity. I will be using 3 crushers. One for ice from oxide asteroids, one for iron from metallic asteroids, and one for carbon from, you guess, carbonic asteroids. All of this is almost a recipe for space science packs. But to don't make it stuck, I have to apply some circuit magic. Next, furnace to smelt iron ore into plates, and assembling machine to finally craft space science pack. This is the final design of the space platform, which will basically last me for the whole game. Back on Nauvis, I started building purple science production. I went with simple direct feeding for rails and electric furnaces. However, I also have to connect and expand the productivity modules factory. Science packs are connected to labs by long spaghetti belts. Also, I can expand the labs a little bit and add another line of inputs on the bottom. When it comes to yellow science, all ingredients are already made, so it's just a matter of connecting everything and building the science assemblers themselves. I started getting more and more attacks from the locals, and this close call for quality modules was too close. Oh no, biters. No, the chest. In that case, I've added assemblers to my mall to produce nuclear reactor components. I will need those to start producing green electricity besides solars. But for now, I have to find a different solution to the locals. In 2.0, tanks have an equipment grid, which I filled with energy shields. Tank and 500 grenades should be enough to negotiate my terrain disputes with the locals. That was a successful corpse making negotiation. Starting uranium patch was small, so I built an outpost and connected it with a long belt. Since there is an iron patch next to uranium, I just built miners and took the ore to the smelting columns. While I was working on older stuff, the assembling machines in the mall crafted me all components for the nuclear reactor. And with working reactor, the Nauvis is almost done, for now. So what about going to the first planet? I, of course, going Gleba first. Like, you guys left me no other choice. To prepare for a trip, I have to set up a logistic mall. I already have one mall, but it's simply easier to manage all weird recipes like cargo bays, crushers or thrusters with bots. Space platforms are the core building element of any spaceship, and they require 20 steel per tile, so I have to expand steel production by the iron outpost and by those new smelting columns. To survive on Gleba, I must have a good power armor with quality equipment, so it's a grind time of reloading the game until I got rare or at least uncommon power armor. While I was doing it, I realized that quality of output item is determined at the beginning of the craft. That means I can remove quality modules when the recipe starts and put speed modules to see results faster, because the role for quality is already done. Here is the gambling machine in the editor mode. Works perfect. I took upgraded blueprint to my world and made uncommon power armor with some quality equipment. Without recyclers from Fulgora, quality grind is not the best experience. I set request for uncommon machine gun and left assembler unsupervised. We need a new spaceship to get to Gleba, and this spaceship is my starting point for the design. I called it Osman. Every spacecraft requires asteroid catchers for resources, crusher for processing those, gun turrets to defend itself, thrusters to fly, and chemical plants to make the fuel. My design might have too much spaghetti for your taste, but it's enough to fly. By the way, do you remember Submachine Crafter? Yeah. I forgot to put quality modules into the assembling machine, which is kind of important to make quality items. But guns are cheap to make, so I made more of those. With the new equipment, I can get myself on Osman and go for a trip to Gleba. After a few minutes, I am here. I'm finally on Gleba. Yay! I took tons of items from Nauvis, so the experience here should be fine, right? First thing I did was to explore the Gleba, find some plants and get copper and iron rocks to kickstart the factory. Since Gleba is very wet, you need to make landfill production as soon as possible. For now I will use solar power, but it's not the most optimal on organic planet, where you can burn everything for electricity. As a starting point, I just copy and paste my beginning base from Nauvis. I haven't brought enough belts to build everything and have to be selective with what I build. Since iron is the most important resource in the early game, I went to harvest some iron rocks. I also built the first planting tower for the brain fruits, which are useless without biochamber to handle all of the fruits processing. And to make biochambers, we need to negotiate a few pentapod eggs. With eggs secure, I can craft biochambers, which will convert yamakos and brain fruits into seeds. It's also smart to breed some extra eggs and make more biochambers for later use. On Nauvis, you make ore outposts, but on Gleba, you instead farm yamakos, brain fruits and pain. At this point, pain is already fully automated. So yamakos from fields on the left are the next task. After bringing yamakos to the base, I have to process those, and I think they will work perfectly as a fuel source for electricity. I will regret this decision later, but it's a future Trupen problem. Brain's outpost from the right side is the next thing to connect with the base. You might wonder why I'm running two belts. One is to take fruits and second is to supply seeds. In the meantime, I also created another spaceship called Craig. It's simply copy and paste of the previous ship. Also, be careful with pentapod eggs, they can spoil. Next hour I spent building a production of bioflux. It might seem like a simple recipe with just processed yamakos and brains, but it's Gleba, so everything needs nutrient supply, spoilage handling, overfill prevention system and underfill prevention system. Everything can break on this planet in every possible way, and for some weird stupid reason I went Gleba first. So I don't have any useful technology from Vulcanus or Fulgora. I probably should explain how cultivating of bacteria works on Gleba. On this planet, the only way to get iron or copper is by letting a specific bacteria spoil into an ore. You can get starting colony of bacteria from rocks or craft it from processed fruits. After you get a starting bacteria, you can multiply it in biochamber with bioflux. However, bacteria spoils in 1 minute, and if you use a half-spoiled bacteria with a half-spoiled bioflux, you will get half-spoiled bacteria again, which makes it a pain in the neck to sustain your bacteria alive, and I will need to restart them from a new, freshly found colony all the time. I started building a new spaceship for Gleba Science, because there is not much happening on Nauvis right now. The platform will be named LW56, which is another of my YouTube members. Ship will automatically fly to Gleba for science, and circuit logic will make sure our spaceship only flies when it has enough fuel and ammunition. On Gleba, I started preparing for a rocketry by building 2 smelting columns for steel, automating low density structures and making a production of biological rocket fuel. I'm not going to bother with factory of blue circuits on Gleba, since it's way easier to import them from Nauvis. Here will be a spot for rocket silo with a nice laser defenses. There is never too many spaceships, so next one will be named Astro, and it's the exact copy of the previous one. While expanding Yamako Harvester, I found some weird shortcut. What the f is this? But enough of messing around on this planet. There are science packs to be made, but I am playing on development branch Gleba, where recipe for a single agricultural science pack is 50 nutrients and 1 bioflux. But your Gleba will be probably reworked from a rework to another rework. I think Gleba is simply getting a new rework for every discovered spider in the Australia. But yeah, to provide fresh yamakos for science, I built another Yamako farm on the bottom right of my base. And that's the working build making the science. I will be leaving Gleba soon, and it would be nice to have a logistic mall in case I want to do something from the map view. To always have electricity on Gleba, I also built another power plant to burn excess of Yamako mash and spoilage. With everything built, I'm kind of done with Gleba at this stage. But no worries, I will come back there to fix a lot of bottlenecks and to clear spoilage. But for now, I can come back to Nauvis, put new science packs into labs and enjoy the view of this glebastic production of green science packs. I spent some time on Nauvis, but with 3 planets left to explore, there is no point in staying on Nauvis. So I gather all of my shit on Astro and fly to some actually useful planet, which is Vulcanus, a lava planet with plenty of resources to extract. After getting there, I drop down all the items that would make expansion on this planet easier. You know, stuff like inserters, belts, bots, refiners, and tons of other useful crap. The first thing I did was find the closest Demolisher and poke it with a stick. It reacted just like most gears I talked to. Completely ignored me. After the worm's rejection, I set up a calcite outpost. Calcite is a key resource on Vulcanus, mainly used to break down resources like lava into iron or sulfur into steam. For early electricity, I relied on solar panels, and with Vulcanus' 300% solar power bonus, it became an amazing power source. Next, I set up a few drills on coal and went to the closest sulfur geysers to extract sulfuric acid with pump jacks. I brought it to the base and set up acid neutralization, which takes calcite and sulfuric acid to make hot steam. I then use it to make electricity with steam turbines and to produce water for later use. Refineries on Vulcanus works different, because they take coal, calcite and sulfuric acid to make only heavy oil. That means I will need to build a lot of cracking to get other refinery fluids. Before getting your first foundry, there is not much to automate, and it's more of a handcrafting game. With foundries, we'll finally be able to craft iron, copper, steel and many other metal-related materials. First foundry will be used to craft other foundries, and with 50% productivity, I will get 1 extra foundry every 2 crafts. Before using foundries, there is still one thing to automate, and it's a carbon production. But with all resources in place, it takes no time. On Vulcanus, you make resources by breaking down lava into molten iron or molten copper. The process is of course done in foundries and with use of calcite. The recipe also yields a lot of rocks, which we need to smelt into bricks. But later it will be too much and I will need to find a different solution to the rock surplus. Foundries are not the only planet-specific machines on Vulcanus. There are also big mining drills, which are very powerful, because they have reduced resource drain by 50% on normal quality, and legendary quality drills will drain only 8% of resources. So every harvested ore would yield 12.5 rough ore. I am too poor to craft legendary big drills, but it's still worth it to replace my normal drills on coal and calcite. With big drills I can also start mining another core resource, tungsten, which was too hard for normal drills. At this point my situation on Vulcanus is stable, and I simply have to expand, build some basic mall and fix the bottlenecks. The planet is not as complicated as Gleba, so everything goes smoothly. Remember when I told you about rock surplus? They started to clog up foundries. To handle it, I simply dump them back into the lava. It's my way of rock recycling. There is still stuff to do on Vulcanus, but I can already craft rocket silos. Oh, uncommon one, to launch a rocket we need to have rocket fuel, low density structures and blue circuits. That's mean we need to crack some heavy oil into light oil, which will be used in a rocket fuel. And after we crack light oil into petroleum, we'll be able to craft plastic and produce low density structures in foundries. It requires some expanding, but the Factorio must grow. While I was building mall on Vulcanus, I realized I can craft capture bot rockets, so I jumped into map view and built the production of it on Gleba. We'll need biter eggs from capture nest to more than double our science production Nauvis. That's why I want to already buffer some of those rockets. Back on Vulcanus, it's finally time to make metallurgic science packs. They require tungsten carbide, which I automated last time you blinked. Tungsten plates, which is just tungsten with molten iron. And molten copper, which we already make. Talking about copper, it's time to clean up this mess and make a tileable design for the future use. With science running, we can set up a spaceship logic to automatically transport stuff from Vulcanus. Last step to make a rocket silo running is to automate production of rocket fuel. But with running refineries and cracking, it's as easy as copying it from Nauvis and connecting all the belts and pipes. When it comes to automating blue circuits, I will import them from Nauvis as a temporary permanent solution. While I was on Vulcanus, something broke on Gleba, but what broke? I don't freaking know, okay? But I know more spaceships equals more good. So another copy and paste of the same awful design will be named Red Hunter. I spent some more time on Vulcanus, fixing bottlenecks and expanding. What's more, I decided to produce blue and green circuits on Vulcanus and import just the red ones, because it's more efficient than bringing blue circuits. Before we leave Vulcanus, there is still a single thing we have to do, which is a terrain negotiation with local wildlife. Bigus Wormus Pospolitus has an extremely high health regen, so the only way to kill them is to burst them with as much gunpowder as possible. Something like this will do the trick. Yeah. Seems like my approach to this worm has been too European. Time to bring out my inner redneck and solve this the Texas way, with 100 guns. This time Worm had no chance, and he became a rock.
Okay, he's gone.
With everything done on this planet, I can come back to Nauvis and take a few biters hostage. To capture biter nest, we first need to isolate them, but with turret filters I can easily do a turret creep. Then I can send capture rocket, wait for nest to transform and feed it with imported bioflux to get biter eggs. And with the use of gambling machine I can craft a quality synthetic biter spawners which have 50% built-in productivity for Nauvis science packs. So I spent next half an hour just replacing all the science packs on Nauvis, starting with yellow science, then going for purple ones, and blue also got a rework. Military, which was next to blue, and finally the red and green science packs got a new spot, since they didn't fit in an old one. While handling biter eggs, be careful for this. Since we are going big on Nauvis, I have to rebuild the rocket silos, because the current solution is simply not enough for the late game. Resources on every planet are limited, but the space rocks aren't. That means I can build a harvesting ship which will collect asteroids and send them directly to Nauvis. Instead of building a train network and usual outpost stuff, I have spaceships. This design will make both infinity iron and copper. Now I just have to copy and paste it a few times for constant supply. However, when it comes to production Nauvis, I should upgrade to foundries, since they have incredible productivity bonus and more module slots. It took some time to design, but it's definitely worth the effort. After building for a while, I realized that space cargos can increase the request speed from the space, so I built a few more. This is how I mine a pollution-free iron and copper. While I'm already using foundries for making molten iron and copper, why not use those for the production of low density structures? Some designing and pipes connecting later, we have an awesome production build. I forgot, foundries require calcite for smelting, but I can make calcite from asteroids, so it's an easy fix with 2 extra ships. Just look how nicely the rocket silos are working. With everything done on Nauvis, I can send myself to another planet, which is Fulgora. Right after landing on this Mad Max planet built out of scrap and oil, I went for exploring. Like, look at this rock, isn't he cute?
Oh, that's interesting rock.
But we didn't get here for rocks. We need to find a scrap vault which has extreme amount of scrap, which will turn into useful items by recycling. I started mining scrap with big miners and building a base on this island, but it's too small for a factory, and moving to a bigger island would be a smart move. That's why I deconstructed everything and took it for a bigger island, but with less rich scrap patch. You probably wonder how I have electricity for big mining drills. And what are those accumulators? Let me explain. Nights on Fulgora are full of lightnings, which can be captured by lightning rods. However, electricity from lightning comes quickly and goes quickly. For that reason, I need to build tons of accumulators to collect lightning electricity during night and use it during the day. With provided electricity, I can start building recycling machines to process scrap. However, I forgot about the most important thing to have on Fulgora: roboports. They are not hard to make on Fulgora, but I need some starting resources. So for now, I build small base and wait for recyclers to make some stuff. In Factorio, there is always something to do, and instead of being AFK on Fulgora, I will deconstruct old smelting column for copper and replace it with the new design, which uses foundries instead of furnaces. Foundries are more efficient with the ores and produce less pollution, I think. The only downside is their huge demand for electricity, especially when you add a lot of beacons, which I do. Luckily, my nuclear power plant is perfect and very stable. Back on Fulgora, I can expand with resources made in the meantime. I started by building a rocket fuel factory to consume extra solid fuel. It requires light oil, but it's easy to make since everything around is a heavy oil lake. Ice melting will get rid of extra ice in the system and supply us with the water. Fulgora is a constant game of running out of space storage, and to prevent it, you have to use recyclers. Besides processing scrap, they can also uncraft every item in Factorio, giving you back 25% of its recipe. This will allow you to get low tier items and get rid of excess if you make smart recycling plant. But to make good recycling plant, I need a logistic mall first, and bigger accumulators field would be also a good idea. When it comes to resources you're getting from scrap, it's only this, and if you want to make, for example, copper plates, you have to recycle either low density structures or copper cables. This is why I'm building a circuit brain, which reads how many items I have in a logistic network, and if I have more than few thousand, it will automatically set an item request to recycle it. It will destroy useless items like solid fuel and provide me with low tier resources like green circuits. By recycling, you can only get few items, so I still need to expand the logistic mall. The recycling machines are working, but why not use the concrete instead? It will make me faster and won't cost electricity to get destroyed. While my factory on Fulgora was working, I gave a look at Nauvis, and turns out some science packs are not working fast enough. However, there is nothing which I can't fix with a few speed module beacons. I also invested into stack inserters to make layers of science packs, and I upgraded the belts to make science packs run faster. Talking about stack inserters, I had to fix the production on Gleba. What an awesome planet to deal with. On the other hand, Fulgora is great, and now I can start working on the planet's specific recipes. The first and the most important ingredient is holmium solution, which you get from combining rocks, holmium ore and water. Then you can cast the solution into holmium plates, or if you add heavy oil and some more rocks, you will get electrolyte, which is used in supercapacitors and electromagnetic science packs. Manufacture of superconductors is next. The recipe requires copper, holmium, plastic and light oil. For now, there is no need for them, but I will use those funny blue sticks later for some good crafts. Factory of supercapacitors is just a copy and paste of superconductors, but with different fluid and logistic requests. I crafted a few of those electromagnetic assemblers, and it's a sin to not use them for modules factory. Guess what?
What is wrong again with Gleba?
Something on Gleba broke, but I simply do not care what. On Fulgora, I'm already making all ingredients for science packs, and I just need to craft them to basically be done with this planet. However, it's so easy to make resources on this planet that it's worth to expand it even more, especially to make high tier modules for cheap. ship. When it comes to problems, my current supply of scrap is running low, and making outpost from my starting vault is an extremely good idea. Problem is, I can only get resources out of it by train, and the island has less space than a $500 a month New York apartment. I somehow managed to produce and transport scrap, but I also have to process it on the main island, and that should do the trick for now. Since I am already making the electromagnetic science packs, I can build some silos and start exporting the bottles. While I'm waiting for stuff on Fulgora, I can fix and upgrade the nuclear plant on Nauvis. I think something might be wrong with the circuit logic. With 3 DLC planets conquered, I can start building a spaceship capable of going to Aquilo. The ship will be named Hallelujah, and I will start by copy and pasting my standard ship design. It has to be bigger, with rocket launchers and the whole production of rockets. But you know what? The research for mech armor is almost done, so I will definitely come back to designing this ship later. And when it comes to mech armor, it's awesome, and I have to make it. However, first I need to have a normal quality power armor and some extra ingredients. Another step is to get a blueprint for gambling machine from Nauvis and set all the circuit logic on it. For now on, it's a waiting game. There is 11.6% for uncommon mech and around 1% for rare one. I would like to have a rare mech armor, since I will use it for the rest of my life. After a little bit of grind, we have it. I have it! The blue! Finally! And just look at this equipment grid, which I can take everywhere. But the biggest benefit of mech armor is the ability to fly. Squeak through is an unfunny joke compared to the true power of mech armor. With mech armor crafted, I can finally leave Fulgora and fly to Gleba, because there is a lot of bottlenecks to be fixed there. On Gleba, there is nothing interesting to show, so I will simply speed it up. Like, trust me, this is literally the best moment from the whole hour on this planet. I tried some fighting, but I don't produce bullets on Gleba, and my only offense are heavily nerfed personal lasers and normal lasers. It was doable until... oh fuck. I quit that idea. We'll soonish go to Aquilo, and we will need a lot of rockets to supply the spaceships. That's why I'm rebuilding the Blue Circus production to use electromagnetic assemblers with 50% productivity bonus. Okay, at this point I do not know what's wrong with this planet. Like, I swear, it used to work. Meanwhile, in space I created a new spaceship, Gimatia Aquilo Explorer, named after a different supporter. Like always, I will copy and paste my temporary ship design from the early game as a template. I replaced the copper smelting column with foundries a long time ago, and now it's time to do the same with steel and iron, because we will need a ton of resources to supply the Aquilo Explorer. Of course, there are some bottlenecks on Gleba, and I don't have stack inserters.
Gleba.
After some fixing, Gleba works for now, and I can finish building the smelters on Nauvis to have way more than enough of any plates. However, plates are not enough, and I also want to have way more circuits. The green circuits were a little bottleneck, so I replaced them with electromagnetic assembling machines. This tileable design will always have enough green circuits. For the whole time I was in a map view, but it would be nice to leave Gleba, so I flew to Nauvis. After landing, I realized that refineries are running a bit slow, so I found the closest oil field and started harvesting some of that freedom liquid. My nuclear power plant was again not providing any electricity, but this time it was lack of water. That's why I connected a new lake to the power plant, and connecting pipes is definitely a different experience with the new fluids system. Water was also a bottleneck for refineries, and now I can upgrade them with beacons. I upgraded blue and green circuits to electromagnetic assemblers. That means it's time to do the same with red circuits. I'm so happy that I left enough space for this upgrade, because I don't need to tear down anything beside current production of red circuits. This production will make me a ton of red circuits, and it's simple to expand. If I will need to fix this reactor one more time, I will nuke it and build from scratch. It's starting to be as annoying as Gleba. While I was messing with reactor, the gambling machine Trupen made me some new quality legs. Since we need rockets to get to Aquilo, I will start manufacturing explosives on Nauvis. It's just simpler than making them on a space platform. When it comes to spaceship, I basically remove the whole production and turn it into a huge warehouse. I like to call this approach the intended way. Since you don't have any basic resources on Aquilo, you have to import everything with spaceships. And I like to do it on a single trip. I also have to adjust the spaceship a little bit. It will start producing rockets, have a few rocket launchers and increase storage. With all set up, I can start importing every necessary item to the Aquilo Explorer. That's a nice view. Space platform won't be self-sustainable, and if I can import any bullets, I think uranium rounds are the best. And here is their production. Rocket fuel started to be a bottleneck, so quick fix with speed beacons should make them work faster. I will leave Nauvis for a long time, and now is the best time to talk about some stuff with the locals. It was a lot of fun to spread democracy until this. My game died. No. To make my experience even better, I had autosave set every 30 minutes, and the last autosave was 26 minutes ago. Yeah, the next half an hour was basically just me redoing everything what I've already done, the disadvantage of unstable early access to the DLC. But for you, it's a already fixed bug. On a bright side, I finished the equipment for the mech armor, and the mech armor was the only thing missing before going to Aquilo, because ship was already fully stocked. After a quick fly with my spaceship, I landed on Aquilo, dropped all the items, and it's a fresh chapter in the space age. Of course, the first thing I did was to mine all the rocks made out of ice. Then I built solars with accumulators, because I need to somehow kickstart this factory. The Aquilo is a frozen planet, where every building needs to be provided with a heat pipe, and the best way to make heat is with nuclear power. I tried to design a tileable blueprint of water production, because on this planet you have to make water yourself before turning it into steam and electricity. However, it was hard, so I launched a sandbox and created a blueprint there, which I of course haven't recorded. Yeah, I've created two blueprints. First one is for production of ice platforms, which you use to build on the never-ending lake. To make ice platforms, you need ice and ammonia, which you both get by separating ammoniacal solution. The lake is made out of this solution, which means an infinite supply. We need to save on nuclear fuel by using an automated controller that inputs fuel only when we need more heat. I will just copy and paste it from Nauvis, because it works awesome there, right? The second blueprint I designed in the sandbox handles water production by melting ice made from the lake fluids. I will then use the melted ice to generate steam and electricity. Ammonia is overproduced while making ice platforms and water. To get rid of it, I will start making solid fuel from crude oil and that ammonia. I have tons of fuel cells for the reactor, but it's still good to make some heat from the local ingredients. A different local ingredient is a lithium brine, which I can turn into lithium, and then lithium plates, which are used in cryogenic science packs. Ice is also an ingredient for science packs, and high quality ice will simply produce better science packs. To make it, I'll just reuse blueprint for water production. Aquilo, like other planets, has its unique building. Cryogenic plant is special because it has 8 slots for modules, so it's perfect for quality grinding. Fluorine gas is another resource you can get on this planet, and it's used to make flub something liquid for science packs. We have a production of quality ice, lithium plates, and now even flu something liquid, which means we can start producing cryogenic science packs. Does it mean we are almost done with Aquilo? No, there is still a lot to do here. Like here, I have the most basic setup for science crafting, and it makes me 3.6 bottles per minute, which means I would get all science packs I need in just 18 hours. Awesome. Yeah, this needs some expanding with more buildings and beacons. Also, you might realize there are 2 recipes for fluo something liquid, and you're right. One recipe is to make it, and second is to cool it down after being used for crafting, just to spice the recipe a little bit. Thanks to upgraded science pack production and a small time jump, I'm nearly done making all the science. So I'm gonna make a second Aquilo Explorer. This one name after Wolf's JH. It will take the science packs and it's good to have it just in case. Okay, Nauvis power is again wrong and it's not my skill issue at this point. The power plant is simply cursed, or bug, or both. At least Biter enjoyed the lack of power. Back on Aquilo, I can craft and build 2 rocket silos. They of course require heat and rocket parts, but on this planet the only way to get rocket parts is by importing them, so I don't have to automate their production. Since I will be importing a lot of Aquilo science, it would be nice to refresh the lab's area on Nauvis. With this many science packs, it's way simpler to use bots for distribution. It will also handle the spoilage, which was a huge problem in the previous design. The spoilage. Yes, something broke on Gleba, making everything spoil. But fixing this planet is my favorite activity right after eating glass. Like, I'm not even sure what I'm doing here, but it's probably a very Glebastic activity. To make my day even better, Nauvis is also but with electricity. However, it's fine. I can relax on Aquilo at least. What is this alert? Oh no. If Gleba is a soup, I am a freaking fork. But it's okay, because I'm going to Gleba now. Yay! Stuff on Aquilo is stable, and Gleba is the only bottleneck now. On Gleba I did a lot of this, some of that, and a little bit of whatever else was needed. Like, I don't care. This planet shouldn't be in the game in the current stage. I hope they'll fix it before the release, so you won't go through my pains. But my Gleba pains will be soon gone, because we have researched a railgun. It's only possible to craft it on Aquilo, but I definitely should start crafting the railgun ammo on the Wolf ship to have a nice buffer for the space age adventure. So now I'm basically glebing for some time while waiting for the final research to be done. Glebastic science is the only missing ingredient, so I might be able to make it flow better. Okay, this is the final load of liquid paint from Gleba to research the space age travel, and ship to do the final travel is already fully stocked on Nauvis. However, I also have to make railguns on Aquilo, because without them there is no way to deal with huge asteroids. But Aquilo is on the way to the space edge, so we load it on the way. Okay, Interstellar Science Pack is the final research, so let's finish the game before Gleba finish me. While our big ass ship is slowly flying to Aquilo, I can already build plans for railguns, provide them with ammo and set a filter to only attack the huge asteroids. And don't waste ammo on small ones. I will speed up the travel time until we go to the Aquilo. On Aquilo we are loading railguns, which are extremely powerful, and without them it's not possible to finish the game. I mean, it used to be possible to abuse the game and win without them, but they fixed it after I was doing it too much. With loaded railguns we can go straight for the space edge to kill the final boss and win the game. I hope the ship will survive, but we'll see. In the meantime, I would like to thank Scovarx, the creator of Factorio, for inviting me to play test this DLC 2 years ago. It's a gift I don't know I will ever repay to him. The spaceship is getting closer and closer to the edge of the universe. Seems like 3 railguns might be enough to win. Also, big thanks to all of my members and supporters for this journey. I hope you liked the video and thank you for watching. See you next time, engineer. And we won! You are the rock for watching.